A very interesting study was published in November of 2018. The topic of the study was to find out how psychological stress impacts body temperature, and quite shockingly, it found out that exposure to stress can lead to a temporary increase in temperature, which gradually decreases if the stress stops. But repeated exposure to stress or chronic stress can lead to a continuous slight increase in temperature, and that can lead to the development of what we call psychogenic fevers. Psychogenic fevers are those fevers that do not have an organic cause or an explanation. They also found out that extreme, inescapable stress can lead to a significant decrease, continuous in temperature, which can make you experience shivers, cold chills and spells in the hottest of summers. Now that the link has been established between psychological stress and body temperature changes, it's very important to talk about all of this in the context of narcissistic abuse, which is what we are going to do in today's episode. Hi, I am Danish, a narcissistic abuse recovery professional. Welcome to my channel. Thank you so much for tuning in. If you are new and have not subscribed already, please subscribe before we begin, because as I always say and request, your subscription may help in spreading awareness about narcissistic abuse. More specifically, we are going to talk about why you as a survivor of narcissistic abuse experience random hot or cold spells which you find really difficult to explain to people. It was the month of June in 2016 that I started experiencing weird psychogenic or health-related symptoms that I couldn't explain or understand. It started with pins and needles, which I researched about and concluded that this is caused by stress. But back then, I didn't know exactly what was the main source of stress, even though I was aware about narcissistic abuse and was trying to heal in one way or the other. But then alongside, I started experiencing cold spells like shivers, and then suddenly those cold spells would change into full-blown body sweat, hot spells like a fever that I couldn't understand or explain to people like what was happening to me. It was really weird for them to watch me taking around 4 blankets and a hot water bottle in the month when the temperature outside was in 40 degrees Celsius. I don't know what that is in Fahrenheit, but you can imagine that's really high. Everybody wants to be around an air conditioner. I mean, they want to chill out. It's hot summer, and there I am sweating under 4 blankets with a hot water bottle. It was embarrassing. It was weird because back then I was in my hostel. Nobody could understand what was going on with me. They thought I was crazy. Even myself, I thought like, what the hell? I mean, is this cancer? Is this something else? Is this a problem in my nervous system, in my brain? Because it's hot, but I feel cold. Now that I know what I know, I can understand, and compassionately so, that it was my trauma response. It was my body's outcry, my body trying to tell me that we are exhausted, you are exhausted, you do not have any more resources left in you or in your body to cope. Back then, I was also experiencing narcissistic abuse, like directly because of my narcissistic roommate. I have talked about that in another episode, but it was really, really, really bad. Isolation was going on, gaslighting was going on, and all the time I was ruminating, thinking about how I can make things better, or probably I am the crazy one. My health symptoms made it worse. Thermal or thermodysregulation is one of the core symptoms or manifestations of the dysregulation that happens in your nervous system. In other words, when you live in a state of fight, flight, freeze, and fawn for years, for decades, your nervous system and its rhythm is altered. The part that should stay dominant most of the time becomes repressed, and the part that should occasionally be activated remains dominant and activated most of the time. This is our sad story. This is the damage that happens to our nervous systems, and that prolonged internal distress leads to the disruption in vagal tone. That, in combination with the biological disturbances, the hormonal disturbances, the dysregulation of your cortisol, your adrenaline, noradrenaline, if you are a female, estrogen, progesterone, male, testosterone, everything becomes a mush. It gets mixed up, a cocktail of hormones added with dysregulation of the nervous system changes everything, your basic biological rhythms. This is also the reason why a lot of survivors of narcissistic abuse suffer with hyper or hypothyrodism. I had hypothyrodism and they put me on medication quite early on without assessing me for contributing factors like what else could be causing this. They didn't ask that question. Here is the pill, here is my pill dispensary attitude, it should fix you. But it didn't fix me, it made things worse. And I gained a lot of weight, which I eventually lost and I stopped the medication, but it was harmful. I then worked on healing my thyroid gland holistically. I used Ayurveda a lot and it has helped in many things, which then consequently led to the regulation of my temperature dysregulation. I used to have flashes all of a sudden. Now I don't have them. While going through this hell, most people like you and me do not understand what's going on with them. The narcissist weaponizes their health conditions if unfortunately they are still in the relationship and then makes them think, yeah, you are broken, you need to be fixed. And we feel like there is no hope for us. I would like you to understand that you're not crazy. Your weirdest symptoms, health symptoms, have something to do with narcissistic abuse. There is a link. Sometimes it's direct, other times it's indirect. You just have to be open and you have to explore what's going on. Then you have to work on regulating your basic biological rhythms, which can be done through taking a holistic approach, working on your nutrition, working on movement, working on tuning your vagus nerve. My explanation is your nervous system, your body is trying to flush it out, the narcissist toxicity, the narcissist abuse out of your body. That's why you have those jolts of a cold and you shiver, or sometimes it's too much sweating without any reason, especially during the time you are about to go to sleep or during night when you wake up from deep sleep or early in the morning. The weird thing about these flashes is that they might intensify after leaving the narcissist, and you may wonder, like, this is supposed to get better. Why is it becoming worse? It's not getting worse. Your body is now trying to complete the trauma response that got stuck back in the relationship. Your body was stuck in a freeze response. Now that you have moved out of that environment, the threat is gone. It's shifting from immobilization to mobilization, which is also a nervous system shift. Polyvagal theory explains that better. But when that happens, your body almost demonstrates that fight response, as if it's running away. And you should let it happen. Hold space for it and give it some time. It will eventually go away. Healing this kind of dysregulation does not require you to keep talking about what the narcissist did to you, or it doesn't require you to dig in and work on those memories and do hardcore trauma processing. None of that is required. In fact, the triphasic trauma model created by Judith H. Herman, the pioneer in this field, starts with stabilization. That's why I created HANA, Heal After Narcissistic Abuse program, with that emphasis, with that thing in my mind, with that framework in my mind. The program equips you with all the understanding as well as tools to do the healing work on your own. If you want to get access to that program right now, you can either click the I button above or the link in my description. Were you able to relate to any of this? Have you experienced these shivers, these psychogenic fevers? If yes, drop your experiences in the comments below. And if you have healed them, what helped you the most? Because in some cases it's acupressure, acupuncture, herbal doctors, holistic doctors, a chiropractor, anything, a massage therapist, somatic work. What helped you? Drop those hints, those tips in the comments, and who knows, you might end up helping a survivor in need. With that, let's bring this episode to an end. Thank you so much for tuning in and for listening to me. I will talk to you in the next one. Until then, as always, let the healing begin and continue.